Right. Welcome to another Insider Notebook. James Palmer here with Bleacher Report. No, it's not Wednesday. It's Thursday. We didn't do one yesterday because I had a snowstorm here in Denver and I lost all internet. I know. It's weird to see what you do without internet. But we couldn't do this show. I'll tell you, that was one of the things I couldn't do. But I am here today as we're going to go over a lot of different topics that are leading into a huge Week 14. There's a bunch of different rivalry games, games with huge implications, including tonight with the Cowboys at the Lions. You can jump in this chat and you can ask me anything you'd like about the NFL. We'll try to answer them, as always, in between each and every one of these topics. Also, ask about those games because we'll get to them a little bit and what I see in them in terms of predictions and where things stand with the people I'm talking to around the league. But there's some monster ones, and we'll get to them. But we're going to start going through this list. We're going to have what's going on with the Giants, maybe what's going on kind of behind the scenes, and maybe what a new head coach is going to have to deal with and what they're looking for in that new head coach. Justin Herbert's injury, what it's going to take for him to play? Asked around quite a bit on this one. Brandon Aiyuk, is he going to return to the 49ers, who are playing really good football? I think they're on a bye now, right? But they've been playing outstanding with the loss of him and so many other guys due to injury. What's the latest there? Coaches on the hot seat. I'll talk to you about a couple coaches that are on the hot seat, where things stand in the landscape of potential openings, as that is kind of starting to be the conversations I'm having with people and sources around the league, which is a bummer, I might add. It's just not a fun conversation about people's jobs, and it's everybody that's involved in the organization and kids and schools and all that stuff. It's messy, but we talk about it quite a bit. And then I mentioned the look ahead to the weekend. We're going to mention that as well. I want to get off the top here because there's been some discussion here about Bryce Young and the way he's played of late. They've played themselves into the playoff picture, the Carolina Panthers, with a huge win over the Los Angeles Rams, who, in my opinion, are the best team in football right now. And is he going to get that contract extension? Former number one overall pick. Let's go to Copilot first before I get into it because Copilot's got all the answers. So, according to Copilot, I asked, how often do first round QB's contracts get extended? Well, according to Copilot, since 2011, remember when that's the wage scale was introduced, about 60 to 65% of first round quarterbacks have their contracts extended beyond their rookie deal. Now, will Bryce Young be one of them? This is going to be, to my understanding, a bit of a wait and see. Young has been kind of up and down. They've seen some bright moments. They love how calm he is in big moments. They love how he's had these come behind victories. He is very level headed. They love his demeanor. Dave Canales loves him in the building, my understanding is. They also enjoy the way he's kind of growing and developing. That's part of it. How much is he going to grow and develop it? Because it has been, and I mentioned the up and down aspect of Bryce Young. One week I'll hear from people close to the organization, I don't know if he's it. I'm not sure. He's probably a middle of the pack type of quarterback. And then you have games like he played against the Rams where he was very efficient, threw for I think about 20 balls, but completed 2 touchdown passes on fourth down in huge moments. They ran the football well. They played good defense, turned it over. That formula, can he be your quarterback? I think this is going to be one where they're going to continue to win. They are going to most likely pick up his fifth-year option. That would be the easy thing to do. And then you're going to have the ability to evaluate him. I don't know if they're going to rush to do a contract extension. Those discussions, to my understanding, haven't really happened or transpired yet. We'll see. But right now, this is kind of something that they're going to it looks like you're going to wait because you want to see where you're at. Do you want to be in the Trevor Lawrence or the Tua Tagovailoa situation where you guarantee a lot of money and you're paying these guys $50 million a year and you're not getting $50 million a year type of production? That's going to be the interesting aspect because it has been kind of like this. And could they find a formula for success? Possibly. But I do know I've talked to enough people around the league going, there are plenty of limitations due to his size that affect you in the passing game. So we'll see. We just need a new owner. Tepper sucks. Hey, Tepper has been, I think, pretty good lately. I know that speaking to people there, he's kind of grown as an owner as this, has gone on from him taking over the team to now. This is the most success really they've had since he took over the team. I think Dan Morgan is starting to get some props, and I would say this: I think they did hit on Dave Canales. I do think the head coach has been a success for sure. I would extend Young. Okay, pick up the rookie QB in the third or fifth round and worry about an extension next year. Exactly. I don't know if they're going to worry about it now. Remember, the extension allows him to play into the 2027 season, but a lot of these extensions happen early. I heard from people. Everybody says he's a good guy. He is a good guy. I mean, I've met him before. Okay. Anyway, Here we go. His salary should be docked due to his height. Yikes. That's a rough one. The guy can play the quarterback position. I just think it has to be very specific for him. Okay, let's get the Giants' trouble right here and where they stand. Obviously, a terrible performance on a national stage there in front of everybody against the New England Patriots, who are red hot. Also, it destroyed my fantasy league, by the way, because I was going against the Patriots kicker, who just kept on getting points because the Giants kept turning the football over. But what did we see in that game specifically that we want to talk about is that we saw Jackson Dart coming back from the concussion and continuing to play in this same manner in which he plays, then doubles down on it after the game, saying that this is how I play. This isn't soccer and it's an aggressive game. I'm going to be aggressive. That is a concern. You are a franchise quarterback. I'll get into that. The other part is Abdul Carter, their third overall pick, doesn't start this game, is benched due to a coach's decision once again. This has been a reoccurring issue with Abdul Carter. So let's get to Jackson Dart first and where this kind of stands. He says he's not going to change. Players have talked to him about trying to get him to change his playing style. Coaches have spoken to him about changing his playing style. Has it exactly changed? It kind of has a little bit. He is running less. Yes, he's still putting his body in harm's way in unnecessary moments, like in that early portion of the first quarter, which was a completely clean hit, by the way. And he could run out of bounds a yard earlier and still be completely fine, live another day. When I ask people around the league about the way Dart is playing, this has been the interesting part. What's going to be the next head coach's approach? What's going to be the next offensive coordinator that's working with him's approach if they hire a defensive coordinator? How do you find a way to find that balance? Balance is everything. It's what Ben Johnson is being very successful with Caleb Williams, about playing in the pocket and still being a playmaker outside of the pocket. Finding a way to pick your spots. This goes back, I think, to a conversation that I had with Brett Veach a couple of years after Patrick Mahomes suffered that dislocated kneecap in Denver early in his career when he had already been in his first season MVP as a starter. First season, he gets to the AFC Championship game against Tom Brady. Then the next year dislocates that kneecap on a quarterback sneak. The play is specific. Now, I talked to Veach at length about this, and he said, we are never going to change the way Patrick plays. We're always going to let him go out there and create. It's what makes him great. The reason we let him do it is because of how smart he is. He always knows how to make sure he doesn't get hit directly, make sure he avoids hits, make sure he slides. We're going to continue to allow him to do it because we know how smart he is with it. Jackson Dart needs to prove how smart he is in terms of how he's going to pick his spots and to make sure that he can protect himself. Like the Chiefs trust Patrick Mahomes, or else then the coaching staff steps in. But the other part is they have not run a quarterback sneak since, and that happened in 2018. So they have eliminated that play out of their playbook because of the injury that Patrick Mahomes sustained. They have run Jackson Dart less in terms of just designed runs, and so they are changing a little bit. But this is part of what the new coaching staff's going to have to deal with. The other part is Abdul Carter. This was a flag coming out of Penn State, that there were some discussions among evaluators about selfish play, some discussions about a me first guy. Now, these haven't been like insane type of things that he's missed for. He overslept. I guess I think he was getting like therapy right there next to the practice field, and then misses another meeting. He's missed some things. Brian Burns has been on him to try to get him. He's a leader on that defense to get him right. The reason these are important, honestly, are because of this is the nucleus of your team. Malik Neighbors also has some question marks in some people's minds in terms of the way he carries himself off the field. That's why I still believe Jackson Dart is 1B and what you need to do to make him successful. 1A in the Giants head coaching search is really, I know leader of men is the quote that's thrown around all the time, but really somebody that can handle this group of young core players that are very talented, but we have little things that need to be worked out. When Mike Tomlin comes available, we'll get to him. That would be somebody that you would look at immediately. But these are all the things that this group is looking at and looking at when they look and evaluate their head coaching candidates. Okay, what else do we got here? I saw a pic of Abdul Carter in a meeting staring at the ceiling. Is that real? How does something like that leak? I would say this. That's from the Hard Knocks NFC East in season. That is a snapshot. That is that is a screen grab, essentially. He was not asleep, to my understanding. That's a screen grab. Dart taking big hits isn't a big deal. It's the kind of hits he is taking. Exactly. Mahomes takes hits. That's I like that I use that analogy, maybe because I feel good about it. You got to make sure you protect yourself. And the deal in the NFL is, and he says he's been taking hits his whole career. He has never played against athletes like this in his life. NFL athletes are different. NFL hits are different. The size and speed of the defenders is unlike anything you've ever seen. These are the best athletes in the world. Not only is your career on the line, your coaching staff's career is on the line, everybody on your team's career is on the line, your organization is on the line. You're not called a franchise quarterback for nothing. The entire franchise hangs in the balance of you being a good player and being available, and that's what they're trying to put into his mind. Abdul's attitude an issue. Yeah, Giants have a very appealing head coach opening in comparison to a team like the Titans. Certainly, I would say so, specifically because of the core that they have put together, that defensive line. You know, you got Neighbors, you got Scadaboo, you have Jackson Dart, you have Abdul Carter, you have pieces. You certainly have pieces, and I think it's a marquee franchise as well. It's just fallen on hard times of late. We'll get into some of these head coaching openings for sure. Okay. He's a rookie, let him learn. The problem is letting him learn with a concussion that kept him out 2 games. That's difficult. All right, let's go to Justin Herbert, a guy that also takes a lot of hits, but he's enormous. And so where does things stand with Justin Herbert playing Monday night against the Philadelphia Eagles? My gut tells me he's going to go out there and play. Why? Well, he ended up breaking a bone in his hand that's kind of between your fingers and between your wrist. It's these metacarpals that are in here. He ends up breaking a bone in there, ends up returning back to the game. They kind of put like a makeshift pad cast thing around his hand. He didn't take a single snap under center once he came back. Finishes the game, gets the win, gets surgery on Monday. Now, can he play a week from when he has that surgery? Talking to people that I believe are in the know, he has the ability to do it. Will it happen? We'll see. How much practice time can he have this week? It's been really none yet. But can he find a way to get out there and play? The hand, to my understanding, can be stable enough to play with a cast. Now, if he was a non-skill player, it would be one of those club type of casts that you see defensive players play with or offensive linemen play with. But since he is a skill player, it would be a different type of cast, a hard shell on the outside, around the inside, so he can still move his fingers. Now, he probably won't take any snaps under center, most likely be in the pistol for the vast majority of the game and, the shotgun. He didn't take a single snap under center, like I said, once he came back from the injury. And this becomes, once it's stabilized, because on Monday, I'm told, it will be much more stable than it was when he returned to the game, obviously after it got broken in that game on Sunday. It becomes a pain tolerance situation and a comfort situation. I talked to Ladd McConkey earlier this season, and he was like, he's basically Hercules. Like, his pain tolerance is through the roof. He's the toughest person on our team. There's nothing he can't do on a football field. That toughness that he's known for, I kind of wanted to just put it out there for everybody. 2022, plays most of the season with a rib fracture, which is unbelievably painful. That happened in week 2, and he played through it. 2022, also a torn labrum in his left shoulder, plays through that. Breaks fingers in 23 on both his hands. Remember, the right throwing hand is a different story. That ended his season, but played through the broken finger on his left hand. And then remember, in 2024, he had that high ankle sprain at the start of the season, played through that most of the time. This is one of the toughest guys in the league. I would think he tries to find a way to go out there and play. Also, extremely important. They're at 8-4, trailing the Broncos at 10-2. They have a 61% chance of making the postseason right now, the Chargers. 74% chance if they win this game, drops to 50 if they lose. I think he's going to try to play this thing. It's really a comfort pain tolerance thing, and I think he's going to be able to go do that. What else do we got here? Bolt up. I love it. That's my QB number 1, Iron Man. Hey, Iron Man might be a good look for him, too. I mean, honestly, you talk to people in that building, he's about as tough as they come. Herbert has a new age toughness of Ronnie Lott, a broken bone in the hand for a QB behind a spotty offensive line. He's been getting hit a ton, and going against that Eagles front, it's going to be very difficult with the way that they get after the quarterback, specifically on the edge and the tackle issues that the Chargers have had. But I do think he's going to find a way. We'll see. It's early, but that's just the way I'm leaning right now. Okay, Brandon Aiyuk. I'll always back in the I love that Ronnie Lott comparison. Why play? It's out of conference. Let Trey Lance loose. Let Trey Lance loose. Like it. I mentioned why play. I think your playoff chances do hinge in the balance a little bit. I do get the out of conference aspect of it, though. But it's going to be hard to keep Herbert off the field. All right, Brandon Aiyuk, is he going to come back? Somebody in the chat the other day asked, should I keep him on my IR and hope he returns? I wouldn't hold your breath. honestly, and that's going by the two men that make the decisions in that building, and that is John Lynch and that is Kyle Shanahan. Both of them are holding out hope, but both of them have said it publicly that, realistic chance, not sure. Hopeful, maybe. Hopeful for sure. Kyle Shanahan said not counting on it. But I'm definitely still hoping that that can happen. Here's part of it. This is the bye week. Kyle Shanahan said that nobody is getting their window opened to return during this bye week. So after this week, there's only 4 weeks remaining. Now they can open his window. And just to remind you that he's on the PUP list, not injured reserve. So you could bring him back, open his window, take a look and see how he's performing, see how he looks with a team that he has not been with since week 7 of last year, and see if it's coming together or not. If it's not, you're not losing one of those IR return spots. And you could just kind of not let him return. So it is a little different than if he was on IR since he is on PUP. That window for Aiyuk to return to practice would be activated and could extend into the postseason, by the way. I put that in my notes that they can do this in the postseason. Now, we're having this conversation because this does point to a departure at the end of the season. So will they play him this year? Obviously, he would make this team exponentially better. They signed that $120 million contract because they thought he was a true number one. They moved on from Debo because they thought he was a good route runner, which he is, to be that guy that plays on time, on schedule, the way Kyle Shanahan likes it with Brock Purdy. Well, then they end up, voiding all of the 2026 guarantees because he was missing rehab sessions, because he has missed meetings, has not attended work functions, and he did not, this is important to me, did not file a grievance with the NFLPA. And what does that mean? Well, that really means that he didn't file an official grievance, which he's probably more comfortable with just parting ways and giving up the guaranteed money. So it doesn't seem exactly like he is going to return this year. Hold out hope, just like both guys. If you're a Niners fan, they're playing great and they could use them. But it's not looking likely if you listen to the guys that make the decisions. In terms of the funds moving forward, just want to throw this out there. The $29 million, the finances are very easy now that it's been voided. If they up and release him, they'll be in the cost of about $29 million in dead money. If they trade him, they could split that up post June 1. Between 2 years if they'd like. If they end up trading him, that would all be that dead money in 2026 unless they officially trade him after June 1st. Then they can split up that $29 million between 2 different years. Aiyuk not coming back. This man has truly disrespected the Niners, missing meetings, following the team on unfollowing the team on social media, taking away his guarantees money for that. He's done. That's what I think those guys are kind of leaning towards. Herbert, like Tom Cruise, tough. He does his own stunts. Has anybody ever seen that stunt where Tom Cruise jumps from one building to the other, breaks his ankle, and continues the entire shot, and then runs off camera on a broken ankle? Pretty remarkable. Nobody is cutting the fingers off, period, playing the same week after surgery is tough as nails. I love it. I love you guys in the chat. All right, coaches' hot seats. Whoo, toasty. Let's start with Mike Tomlin because that was a big topic of discussion this past week. There were the fire Tomlin chants there at the stadium as they gave up more rushing yards than they ever have in said stadium. And it seems like Steelers fans are going through what they usually go through. It's maybe we're a fringe playoff team. I think if they split with the Ravens and win their 2 other games, which are relatively easy, they'll get back to those 9 wins, I guess, the sense that Mike Tomlin always has a winning season. But is it time? I think that's where it's at. Now, I would say this. I don't think the Steelers are ever going to fire Mike Tomlin. I think if they ever part ways or it ends in Pittsburgh, it is a mutual departure between both sides. I think there would be a meeting. I think both sides would kind of say, I think it's time. And Mike would probably have to say it's time as well. Unless really the Steelers say it's time on their end, they still wouldn't fire him publicly. They would just part ways because of the respect that they have for Mike Tomlin and the way the Steelers do business. That's just the way this works. It just feels, if you ask people around the league right now, different than it has in years past, because this is a conversation that has gone on for several years. And oftentimes has the message worn thin. Is this about where they're going to be? Well, they also haven't had a franchise quarterback in this entire time either. That's been a big part of it. And this has been the way it's been this way since Big Ben retired. And so I do feel like there's people around the league that are more curious than they've been in years past. There's more discussions about Mike Tomlin, not in Pittsburgh, but around NFL circles than there have been in years past. I think if he became available, the Giants would be interested instantly in his services. I think any team that has a head coaching opening would be interested immediately. I just think this does have a little different feel, so it's worth monitoring because they also went all in this year with Aaron Rodgers and with Slay, and that didn't work out. And they made the Jalen Ramsey move, and Jonnu Smith is barely playing, and they pay these tight ends that aren't playing. It's a very different feel this year. And you're the most expensive defense in football, and they're not stopping anybody. It just almost seems like time that do you blow it all up? I don't know. But I will say this, people around the league are more curious than they've been in years past. Kevin Stefanski is another name that has come up. It has been a rough go for a two-time coach of the year over the last couple of years. Quarterback play has played a big part in it. The defense has been very, very good at times. They've struggled and gotten older on the offensive line. The buzz on Kevin Stefanski, I would say this. If he becomes available, there are a lot of people in the league that believe a change of scenery might be very, very good for Stefanski. Good offensive mind. People think he's a very good head coach. I think the buzz around the league is he would get another head coaching opportunity. The Cleveland is a tough place to win. Situation, ownership, everything matters. I think there are people around the league that believe he's a good coach and could be landing a job if he ends up getting let go this year. Pete Carroll's a fascinating one. We mentioned this the other day in one of our streams, and to keep an eye on Vegas. They've been eliminated from the postseason. They have 10 losses. Remember that John Spytek has that 5-year contract. Pete Carroll, a 3-year with a 4-year option. They wanted this to turn around quickly. Just remember as well, Pete Carroll's not their first choice. They went heavy, Tom Brady specifically, into going and getting Ben Johnson, and they tried very hard to get Ben Johnson. He ends up flying to Chicago, really not even meeting with them, really not even interviewing, just getting the job essentially, because they already went through their process after an in-season firing, and gets the job and is done brilliantly in Chicago. So I that part's in the back of my mind. Pete's age at 74 is in the back of my mind. I've talked to people in Vegas who said he's still the same Pete Carroll. He's still full of energy. He still loves coaching. He still loves doing the coaching. He's let John Spytek kind of handle how the roster gets put together in that front office stuff. He's not meddling in that sense, but he also was meddling in the offensive side of the ball. And you saw Chip Kelly's gone, special teams coordinator's gone. This is one that could be potentially one and done. They have a new flux of cash in Vegas as well, which changes the money landscape of things a little bit because they can spend and pay another staff. Just because they have more liquid cash that they have. Also, with the coaching landscape, just wanted to say this before we move on to the next topic. There's been at least 5 head coach openings every single season since 2011. That's 14 straight years. My understanding is it looks like it's going to be that same type of number. We have 2 right now, so to get to 5, we'd only need 3 more. And I just mentioned a couple possibilities. There's other possibilities. Say it's in Arizona. Say it's in, throw a team out. Say it's in, I don't know, Indianapolis doesn't finish well. There's could be somebody that's a surprise somewhere across the league, and there could be an easy way to get to 5. I would say this, though. The group is very different than last year. There's not a Ben Johnson in this group. There's not a Mike Vrabel in this group. Now, if something crazy happens, whether it's in Pittsburgh, something crazy happens in Green Bay. We broke that down the other day about Matt LaFleur going into 2026 as being the final year of his contract. We'll see if one of those surprises happens and then a marquee candidate comes to the table, but it doesn't have the same feel. Keep an eye on some of these young coordinators, whether it's like a Jesse Minter, whether it's an Anthony Weaver, some of these veterans that haven't had a chance before, like Lou Anarumo. Do you get like a Matt Nagy, get a second opportunity? This is going to be an interesting group. Are people going to look at Marcus Freeman from Notre Dame? Certainly. It's a group that we'll keep our eye on, certainly, because this is a different cycle than we've seen in years past. And if there's 5, it's going to be fascinating to see who goes where. Let's see what we got here. Raheem is gone. We'll see. You guys can throw these out here. I'll kind of mention it. I know that Arthur Blank really, really likes Raheem a lot. Things have gone really poorly in Atlanta. The defense has gotten better, but they've picked a quarterback now that's out with an ACL again. They're in a difficult spot. Does Arthur want to change things quickly at his age? Possibly, but how you finish in Atlanta is always very important to Arthur Blank. I would say that. McDaniel is it seems like almost coaching his way back into keeping his job. Does that mean he keeps it? I don't think there's any certainty to that, but I do believe he hasn't lost the locker room, to my understanding. I think Mike is still coaching really, really good football down there in Miami. I think the roster was put together very poorly. They did move on from Chris Greer, their general manager, and it seems like those guys like playing for Mike, and they could keep him another year specifically because he gets more out of Tua than probably anybody else thinks they can. Um, I still think Kingsbury, without being handcuffed to Kyler Murray, will be successful. That's a really good one. Some people have mentioned going, could he be interested in New York and working with Jackson Dart? He did great things with a young quarterback in Jaden Daniels. Could he slide up to New York? I know last cycle, Cliff was very, very picky, very observant of the cycle. I think a lot of people connected it to Dallas. There were some people that thought if Dallas offered him the job, he would have taken it and probably not taken any other job. I do know he's very, very happy working with Jaden Daniels and very, very happy in his role that he has with Washington. Now, the injury of Jaden and the way that offense has gone this year, probably not as fun as last year, but I know he's liked working with Jaden and liked calling plays and where he's at, but I think he would like another crack at a job. Mentioned Stefanski already, Saban GM in Miami. What else we got? Could the Bengals have a new head coach come 2025? You know, Cincinnati has been a team that handles their financial situations very different than the Vegas Raiders. They don't pay multiple coaches. Marvin coached multiple times into the last year of his deal because they don't like to pay multiple coaches. I believe 2026 is the final year of Zach Taylor's contract. That would be next year, obviously. I would say this, like, they've had plenty of issues. They've had some cracks. They've had some locker room issues. He runs that offense. When Joe Flacco was running it for that stretch, it was still one of the best offenses in football. Like, I think Zach runs a good offense, but that's one to probably keep an eye on as well because they've been right there, and your Joe Burrow window was only this big. How can you make sure you maximize the Joe Burrow window? I think that's really, really important. What else do we got? Could Kyler be traded? I see that. I think he's a player to certainly keep your eye on this offseason. They have picked Kyler over the coach a couple of times now. It could happen again. I think there's a large enough sample size to see what Kyler Murray, I think, is. Trading him would be difficult with the contract. Releasing him could be difficult with the contract. But I do think it is one to watch this offseason that I think the Cardinals will weigh all of their options. What about John Harbaugh being fired? He's kind of up there with Tomlin. It's like when things go bad, you start going, is it time? Those two guys, we know how good of a football coach they are. You just sit there and go, is it time? Like, is time the only reason that we would do this? It was kind of what happened with Andy Reid in Philadelphia. Time was a major reason. Yes, that team bottomed out and I think won 4 games in his last year, but he had some stuff going on in the off the field. His son passes away at training camp. It was just time. And that worked out for both sides. Philly's been to 3 Super Bowls, won 2. Obviously, we know the success that Andy Reid's had in Kansas City. So we'll see. You guys got any? We can look ahead. I'll say this very quickly. These games are fascinating. I mean, if the Cowboys win tonight, they're a real contender in the NFC, and nobody wants to play them. The way Dak and that offense is playing, I think the 3 best quarterbacks in football this year right now are Dak Prescott, Drake May, and Matthew Stafford. Those 3. I think that's it. Dak's playing that good. The offense is that talented. The O-line's actually playing well, and the defense has gotten better. This is like a monster game tonight for both the Lions and the Cowboys. I think if the Cowboys win tonight, there's a ton of panic in Philadelphia. A ton of panic in Philadelphia for what's going on. And then when you look at these Texans and going to Kansas City and playing the Chiefs, nobody wants to play that Texans defense. Like, and the offense is starting to figure it out a little bit. Talk to some people like Nick Caley, starting to find some rhythm as a first-time play caller down there, and the offensive line starting to come together a little bit. The Chiefs need to go essentially 5-0 the rest of the way out. Offensive line is banged up, going against that pass rush that the Texans have. Fascinated to see what happens in that one. You have Bears, Packers, Bears number 1 in the NFC going up to Lambeau, and that defense has just turned the football over like crazy. The Packers don't turn it over, but guess who doesn't turn it over? The Eagles, and the Bears forced 2 turnovers last week against that group. They're running the football better than anybody else in football. We're seeing Caleb Williams feel better. I want to see Caleb Williams feel better, play better in the pocket. I want to see Jordan Love take that next step into elite. It's right there in front of him. The opportunity is there. He always plays well in week 12 and beyond. I want to see if Jordan Love, this is the game that I want to see leading into the rest of the way out. This is a Super Bowl roster that Jordan Love can kind of lead that group. Could the Lions potentially grab a great linebacker at DN in this offseason? There'll be a couple available for sure. Which defense is more shut down, Houston or Packers? I think Houston's defense is the most shut down, all three levels specifically. The difference is, and then I'm going to go after this because I got to run. The corners in Houston are far better than the corners in Green Bay, and then Bullock at safety is, I mean, McKinney's great too, but like I think the corners change the landscape between those two. All right, everybody, loved chatting with you. I'll be back at my regular time, pending weather, Wednesday, noon Eastern next week. Enjoy a great week 14 of football.